Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Diary of a Property Pro. Now, what I'd like to discuss in this week's episode is two things that are universal, that you use all the time, whether you're beginning your adventure in the world of investing or you're at the very, very, very peak of your journey. That is, when you set out having growth, why most people get it wrong, and what to spot so that you get on the right track. The other part is standards. Now, these two things go hand in hand. And the reason that they go hand in hand is that they will determine your outcomes. What I'd like to do is share some stories about what I have seen over the years when these two things are misaligned and how to get them back on track and how quickly things turn around when you do. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So let's start with standards. Now, have you ever had a situation, does this sound familiar, where you have accepted a low standard? You've had a situation where you've accepted a job or a relationship, a business relationship, a deal, a proposition, a level of work, whatever it may be, you have accepted a standard that is low. And you end up getting that outcome that comes from the situation that you've got involved in, and that result that you've got is way below what you should have accepted. Does that sound familiar? Well, it's one of the most common things that people get in a muddle with. And one of the things that you can do straight away, almost immediately, is make a commitment to yourself to set higher standards. Now, why is that important? Well, if you set higher standards, you are going to get better results. And the reason being is it's like a filter system. If you set your standards higher, then you filter all the outcomes that are lower. I'll give you an example. When we started this podcast, Diary of a Property Pro, I set a standard that I would live by when I was recording these episodes. That would be, I would do the research into what I was going to discuss. I would make sure that I had my appearance looking sharp and professional, because if you're tuning into this episode, I want you to know that I've made an effort for you to appear to come and watch this. If you've came and watched this show and you've taken your time to pick up some wisdom or pick up some skills, I want it to be obvious and clear to you that I've set a standard that is high, that earns your time. And that's one of the things that you could do in your life, is that you can set some higher standards. Now, where would this work? Now, I'll give you a story about some situations I've had over the years where standards have been the number one thing that you can change, or that was changed in that situation that got better results. Now, one of the most straightforward ones is when you have, say you're getting involved in property and you want to get refurbishment carried out on a property. You're looking to increase the quality of the property by improving the decor, the floor coverings, the windows, the central heating system, kitchens, bathrooms, and so on. And say you get some builders that come round and they carry out work. You inspect that work, and if that level of work is below the standard that you find acceptable, then you need to make sure that you set a higher standard, where you say, listen, this is not what I expected, and you point it out early on so it doesn't run on forever, and you say, look, I'm looking for a better standard of finish, or a better standard of workmanship, whatever that may be. And that means that you will increase your results that you get out of the workman that you would consider doing that refurbishment work. And if you've got someone that isn't meeting that standard, then you get them out the way. You get them out of Dodge, because there is no point in constantly just accepting that lower standard, because your outcome isn't going to match it, particularly if you're looking to sell that property on as part of your strategy, or you're looking to rent that property out. A substandard level of work is going to cause you problems in your results, i.e. people are going to come around and say, look, the finish isn't very good, or it doesn't match the price that you're asking for. So it's just one of those things that you should set. Now, common situations that happen with people that will come to me and say, look, I'm not getting the results I'm looking for. What would you suggest? You might say, what is the result that you're getting? a common one. I helped a fellow business person. She came to me and says, look, I'm not getting the results by sort of getting in the door. People aren't responding to my emails. People aren't responding to my messages. I'm just getting sort of turned away. So I says, look, let's look at what you're doing. So show me the messages, show me the emails, let me see how they come across. I says, when you go to see people, what is it you do? You just, just jump in the car and I'll pop in, and I'm like, so what is it? Like, how do you arrive? What do you say? What's your presentation like? In terms of, how, are you doing this as you came out the gym? Are you doing this as you finished a cleaning job? Or are you making an effort when you go in to see these people? This is because one of the things that's happened over the years in my own experience, and I was discussing this with a good friend who I've known for a number of years. He was actually on my podcast, and we've had situations over the years where we've went from dressing to impress, so looking sharp, looking professional, looking on point, and the sort of smart casual look where you're like, hey, look, let's take a more relaxed approach. And this is something that most people will experience if they've worked in been employed or been in a job or been in an environment where they're required to look sharp. Now, they will have a bit of resentment about having to wear that attire, because when they break free of that job and they go into self-employment or business or whatever it is that they take on as a venture to become financially free, the other one of the things that they want to release themselves from is the shackles of all the parts of the job that they didn't like. Having flexibility of when they can take time off is a great one. So not having to ask for a holiday, can I book a holiday? That's one that really sets people off. The other one is choosing your working hours. So, when there's, the classic one is, you need to do it for the company, and the company requires you to sort of put in go the extra mile and so on. So that really, really drives people crazy. The other thing is, if there is a standard that they want you to meet in terms of your attire, they maybe want to relax. They want to sort of have their hair the way they want it, or they want to dress the way that they like. And that, when you move away from whatever your role was in the company or employment that asked you to meet a certain standard, you tend to push away to the other end. And we were discussing it where we said, look, what do you think of it? Because myself and he had also said, look, this is something that we've experienced. So what do you think? And we both agreed that, hey, look, you should always dress to impress, because one of the things that we were taught is you never get a chance at a first impression. Now, if you dress to impress, what happens is someone knows that you've made an effort. Someone's know that you pay attention to how you look, and that you've made an effort on your appearance. So it's a sign of respect that if you're dressing to impress, that you're looking to make an effort to engage in that conversation. And it's one of those things that people don't really understand. But if you go back to why your business or employer or the company that you work for commanded that you meet that standard, is because there's a standard that's set. They understand that standard's a requirement. I done a bit on my podcast on conversations with an investor where I go over this. The conversations with an investor is a more sort of relaxed environment, more informal. We have different guests and discussing their experience and mindset. So it's one of the places that we can have a really broad conversation. In this podcast, what we're looking to do is hone in on really specific stuff that will give you the tools to get a better result. And one of those things that will get you a better result is setting the standards. And it's one of the things that we look at why a company or an employer set that standard, they did it for a reason. They're not doing it because they just want to be draconian or they want to have be a tyrant and say, look, we want everyone to do this. They're looking to have an appearance that reflects really, really well on the ethos of the company, so that people are professional and they're sharp and that they come across well. And that looks good, because not only does it look good for the company, it means that they've got really good people that pay attention to their attire, they pay attention to the way they come across. That lands on the other side, because people like that. What people like is someone's took the time to look after their appearance. Someone's took the time to research about that business. Someone's took the time to come out and see them. And if you take that time to come out and see someone, the very first thing that you can do is set a higher standard about your initial approach, that first impression. And this is what we did with the businesswomen. I says, look, if you're showing up and your hair's up and you're a bit bedraggled and you've sort of just done all this work, and that's all you can do, then fair enough, you're better to take the chance and go and see someone than not. But if you want to make a great first impression, then set a higher standard where you're going in looking the part, you're looking good, you're looking sharp. And it's the same reason that we dress up for events. It's the same reason that we will go. If you went for an interview, for example, why would you want to wear a suit? Because it's got a great first impression. It says, I have made an effort. I respect this opportunity and I have made an effort to look my very best so that I can present myself in the best possible way. And people like that. Just think if we were on the other side of it, if someone has made an effort to come across looking really sharp and they speak clearly and they have clearly put in an effort, you think, hey, I can work with that. I like what you're doing, because if you've done that, but just at this initial point, then if we have a business relationship, it's likely that you're going to go the extra mile if you can do this now. So that's the thing about standards, is if you set standards that are higher, then you're going to get better results. And what we're looking to illustrate here is that when you set those standards up, you're going to raise your impression, how you come across, how you appear to others. And particularly if you are looking to engage with, even in property, you're going to engage with surveyors, solicitors, mortgage brokers, estate agents, private sellers, and letting agents, serviced accommodation providers, a whole manner of people. And if they haven't met you, that's your chance to make a great first impression. And guess what happened? I said to the businesswomen, I says, look, this is what to do. I says, go and revisit it, find out a bit more about the companies, find out a bit more about the people that are involved, because they'll have a profile, right? And when you speak to them, ask them some things about the things that they do. And then instead of showing up just sort of, off the cuff with whatever you've got on, go and pay attention to your appearance. So, because if you pay attention to your appearance, then you're going to get a better result. Guess what happened? With changing nothing else, she started getting results. And I says, look, this isn't new. This isn't something that is out the blue. If you look at, there was a study that was done, I think in the early 90s, and it was, do better looking people get better results? And what they were trying to establish was, is there favoritism for looking good? Now, that's not just necessarily attractive, it's the appearance, how you appear. And what they did was they had a scale of, strangely enough, people that were being sentenced. They broke the law, and they were measuring how these people appeared, and they had a way of scoring it so that they could determine where better looking people given more leniency in their sentences compared to others who had, their appearance wasn't up to the scorecard, if you like. So they were basically looking to see if there was favoritism, and it was quite clear that there was, that better looking defendants got more lenient sentences. Now, I would go a little bit further to say this isn't just a looks thing, because it's not based on how you look, it's also based on how you appear. So even if you imagine that there's someone that you're looking to engage with, and they see 10 people in a day, and maybe 10 people show up in the usual cleaning outfits, which is good because that's part of the business. It's a good thing to do. But if the 10th person shows up and they look ultra sharp, they have clearly made an effort, they have found out a little bit about you, who are you going to remember? Who are you going to have favoritism towards? You're going to remember the people, because people like people that have made an effort, right? And that's, especially if in the world of business, that is something that stands out. Now, in the wider scheme of things, how does that apply in life? Well, if you're starting out, right, if you're starting out in this property adventure and you want to get a better result, then set higher standards. And those higher standards can be start with what's your goals. So if the very, very, very first filter that you should apply so that you can figure out where you need to increase your standards is what's your goals. So if you had a magic wand and you could have anything you like, there is no limits, what would they be? So what would you aim for? What type of property deals would you buy? How many would you like? How would you like to earn your money? How would you like to build your portfolio? How would you like to have it all structured if there was no limits? And that's where you start, because many people get into this venture for many different reasons. So it can be they want to be financially free, so they don't want to have a job or beholden to an employer. It can be that they want to set up a pension for later on in life. So maybe they like their job, maybe they like their business, but they've got some money and they want to put it to work. Great. Maybe they have already done well in business and they want to set up a property portfolio that they can pass on through the generations. Another great idea. Maybe you're someone that is looking to turn around, you spot that the market's pretty hot and you want to jump in the market and you want to make some quick money and you want to get involved in that sort of strategy. Well, these are all very, very different outcomes that are determined by what is your goal. Fast money, long money, generational money, whatever it is that you're looking to achieve, you find that out by setting your goals. And once you've set your goals and whatever outcome that is that you want, that's your first filter, and you can now filter out all the things that don't match that goal. The next thing that you do is you look at where you're at and does that goal meet the current standards that you have? So main things are, does it fit your time frames? Yes or no? So an example would be, if you want long-term generational money, should you get involved in, say, for instance, flipping properties? Probably not, because it's not going to give you the outcome that you're looking to do. So you can then set you're not going to look at any of those. So if someone comes to you, an agent or a broker or an auction company says to you, look, this is a deal that I've got, it's hot to trot. You can say, look, it's great, but this is what I'm looking to do. You've set the standard higher in terms of what you'll accept. You'll only accept things that match your goals. And that is the beauty of setting your standards, because what it does is it stops you getting involved in other things that don't meet your outcome. And if you are stuck at setting goals, visit Mount Mindset. Mount Mindset is a place where you can be in a community that will fire up those questions to find out what your goal should be. Because believe it or not, it can be quite tricky. And even if you are seasoned at setting goals, it can sometimes get a bit stale or a bit stagnant, or maybe you fell off the path. And that's again back to standards. The whole idea that you want to get to is that you're living, breathing, and setting your standards the same way, with the same passion, the same hunger, and the same determination as the day you began. Because what happens is, generally, once you get started and you get a bit of success, it then starts to fade. When I say it starts to fade, I mean your drive, motivation, and determination. And what happens is that when you start to get a taste of success, the very thing that you do is you take your foot off the gas. And you take your foot off the gas because maybe you're getting some degree of success, maybe you're getting closer to your goal, and you then ease off. And that ease off can be a manner of things. Can be that you're looking to you enjoy yourself a little bit more. Maybe you're like, look, I deserve to get a bit of time off. I'm going to go and do all these things that I've always wanted to do, and I'll go and pursue those. And then what happens is you fall into this sort of comfort trap of, hey, look, you're doing great, everything's going gangbusters, but you're not doing the things that you did at the start when you were on the path to becoming successful. You've stopped doing them, or you're not doing them to the degree at which you did when you began. And that causes a bit of a problem, because then you get in this dynamic where you have the success, or you have the goal that you set, and you're getting closer towards it, but you also have this feeling that you're not actually doing what you did at the beginning. And that moves us nicely to growth, because this is where a lot of people get caught up, and certainly myself, it's something that I can attest to because I've had that experience myself. So not only have I had this experience myself, I've had people that are going through it or can't identify that that's what's going on in their life. And common things that happen is essentially it looks like this. When you pursue growth, people measure growth by money, wealth, results, whatever it may be. Like typically it's money. So they measure that by how much they've got in the bank, how many deals that they've done, how much they've got in equity, how much they've gained in value, and so on. And that in itself is great. However, why is it that people that are got lots and lots of money feel very unhappy? It's a great question. Why do you think that is? Why do you think people that have lots and lots of money, which is the measure of growth that they think is the measure of growth, are unhappy? Doesn't make sense, does it? Because if it is true that growth is measured by money or wealth, then they should be continually growing and therefore fulfilled. And if they're fulfilled, they're therefore happy. So it can't be that it's measured in wealth. When you grow, and I'll explain how this works because I've seen it happen enough times that there's a methodology here. How many times have you seen someone that has been very, very successful at something? They have then sold their company, sold their business, sold their portfolio, done whatever, came into a lot of money. 2-3 months go by, they have a great time, they party the night away, and then they're sitting there bored. And then what do? They go into a new venture. What do most people say? They go, why would you want to do that? You've made it. Why do you want to go and pursue something else? But the reason that they pursue something else is they know something. They know that growth isn't found in the wealth. People think it's wealth. Most people think it's wealth, and that's where they're measuring growth in a way that doesn't give them the full picture. And what these guys are doing that go and find a new adventure is they figured out that growth comes from fulfillment, and that fulfillment is a challenge. When they feel that they are putting the foot down in the accelerator, they're developing themselves, they're developing their mindset, they're developing their skill set, and they're continually improving. That challenge is the resistance that they want to push up against that makes them hungry, that gives them that feeling of, yes, I am growing. And I'll tell you what to look for when you get someone that isn't growing. They will have all the trappings of wealth. They'll have cars, money, houses, holiday homes, and all these sorts of things. They will have all these things, but there's something missing, and they'll know it's missing. What they'll do is they'll say something like this: yeah, but I've got all this, so why would I want to push? And what they don't realise yet is that pushing comes from something else. That is you continuing to grow. And what it looks like is when you started. If you think when you started, now, this is for everyone. See if you're out here listening to this. This is for you if you've got a dream. This is for you if you've started. This is for you if you're pretty advanced. This is for you if you're absolutely nailing it. It's for all of you. If you look at what you did at the start, you were hungry, you were determined, your ears and eyes were open to any possibility that you could take in information that would help you. You were not stuck in your ways, and you seeked out that information. And then what happens is people get some success and they follow a pattern, they follow a process. And when that process is working, they then take the foot off the gas, and then they move to, hey, look, I can take it easy, I can do this, and everything's great, and yada, yada, yada. But there's a mismatch, and that's where the unhappiness comes from. That's why you get people that have lots of money that are unhappy. And that's why you get people that have got incredible money that they never need to work again. Economically, they have no requirement to work, and they go and pursue something else because it is the essence of who they are, because they enjoy the thrill of building, developing and growing. And that's measurable in their results and what they do in terms of companies and businesses, portfolios, and all these things that we can measure. But what's going on is within, they are pushing against their potential. And that's why it's important to find out about what it is that you want to develop in yourself. Because for some people, growth can be building a £100 million company. They want to grow towards that. They want to find out how it works, how it operates, to be involved in that sector, to what's the best product to launch, how to strategize it, how to build the right team. That's their particular thing. For some people, it might be to have a family. They want to grow and develop something where they can feel fulfilled in that aspect of their life, and everything in between. So it's these particulars that we want to try and find what it is for ourselves that will constitute growth. What is it that you want? And the best way to do it is to go and think about, if you had the life that you really, really wanted, what would that look like? If you had your ideal life, what would it be? And most of the time, you'll start with, it would be like this, and it would have 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 this. Once you've got them on that list, because they're great, you should definitely work towards having the goals. Once you've got them and you put them to the side, because you've got your holiday home in Ibiza, and you've got your holiday home in Barbados, and you have your Lamborghini, and you have the wife's got a Urus, and you've got all these toys. It's all great, and I've got loads of money in the bank and so on, right? But when you think about what life would be like if you had all of them, how would you like to grow? How would you like to develop? What would you be doing that would give you a thrill? What would you be doing? Would you be helping other business people grow and develop? Would you be finding someone that was like you when you began? Would you help them when they started their company? Would that give you an edge? Like, that's the model of Dragon's Den. These guys have made it, they've cracked it, and they're looking for new talent that's up and coming that they can nurture, because it's great that they can capture a business that could be profitable. But you've seen lots of the times in Dragon's Den that they're doing it because they like the person. And that is the thrill, that's the fulfillment that they get, because they're finding younger versions of people that were like them when they started. And that's what they seek. And let me tell you firsthand from personal experience of helping people that have just literally figured out that this is a dream that they want to pursue, all the way to people that are at the very, very top of their game and stuck, right? I have helped both ends of the spectrum get more from themselves and get more tuned into what that growth part is in their mind. And there is nothing more fulfilling at either end of the spectrum, because it feels just as good at either end, helping someone that's starting out or helping someone break through that glass ceiling. There is nothing more fulfilling than helping them figure that out, helping them get to that point where they go, yeah. And that's deeply satisfying. And if that works for you, then great. Maybe you want to help the poor. Maybe you want to help the sick. Maybe you have got a particular cause that you want, but there needs to be something that in your goals that is specific about how you grow after you've made it. Because if you're listening to this and you're starting, or you're in the middle, or you're at the end and you've nailed it, right, at some point in time you're going to hit this point where you nail it. Now, I've had my experience in this in the past, and what happened to me was that everything was flying, everything was going great. I'd put in the time, I'd put in the effort, I got my sleeves rolled up, I got stuck in. I'd great guys carrying out the work. I was spotting deals. I had great network of people that helped me. I had a power team, essentially the power team of people that were the movers and shakers of the industry that would help me get better results for myself. And I was becoming more refined and more refined and more refined. And then it would be a case of, hey, look, let's go and party. Let's go and try this new venture. Let's go and do this. And I took the foot off the gas, right? And I took the foot off the gas because it was like, oh, yeah, everything's going great. And everything was going great, right? And then you take your foot off the gas. And I remember when I was looking at something Jordan Peterson had written, the famous psychologist, and he'd written something in, I think it was an article that he'd wrote, and I was reading about it, and there was something in there that made me think, oh, that hit the spot for me. That and it made me question this story that was going on in my head. The story that was going in my head was, everything's going great and you've made it and you've nailed it and you're doing extremely well, but are you pushing your potential? And the answer was no. But that was at odds with the story that I was telling myself in my head. And what it was doing was, it was sort of putting the handbrake on, you know, that growth part. Not just necessarily, like, it wasn't the growth part economically. Let's put the economics aside. It was a growth part within. I wasn't using my maximum potential. And if you're out there as maybe you're a role model to people that you're around, and I was starting to look around and I thought, I'm not being a great role model. I'm not being a great role model to people that look up to me. I'm not being a great role model to my family. I'm not being a great role model to my sons, because although I've done okay and these results are good, but I am not pushing, and that didn't sit well with me. And I remember the day that I made the commitment. The day is very, very specific. I made the commitment on the 4th of November 2019. I made the commitment to set higher standards. I set higher standards for myself, and the fuel to my fire was that I set the higher standards for my sons. And I thought, if I'm going to be the best possible father that I can be, I want to be hitting the rev limiter of my potential, and that is in growth. And to get that growth, I need to set higher standards, because these standards that I've set are falling short. They're falling short in terms of the outcomes that I'm aiming for are below what they should be. And that wasn't all just economic. That was family life. That was how I was dealing with relationships. That was how I was dealing with my approach. That was how I was dealing with how I was spending my time. All these things, I decided to set higher standards. I set myself challenges that would increase my standards, that would make it very, very difficult for me, and I would need to push very hard, and I needed to be very, very consistent. And you've maybe heard me mention about consistency. Consistency was not something that came naturally to me. So when I set these things, it required me to build consistency, and that consistency bred growth. So that consistency combined with setting higher standards equaled growth. And this is what, if any of this sounds like you, let me tell you, here and now, you can make these changes. If you're prepared to do the work, you will get better results. And these changes are simple enough to apply, but difficult to keep to. And if you make a commitment to yourself to stick to these structures that you put in place, to stick to that standard, and you see it through, it is impossible that you don't get better results. So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Diary of a Property Pro. We've went over standards, why we settle for less, how important finding out what real growth is, and how it applies to you, and what you can do when you combine standards, higher standards, and aiming for the right growth, and what that can do to the results in your life. Not just the economic results, but the other results, the things that keep us very, very fulfilled. And if you look closely at the people that have figured this out, they are the ones that have no reason to go and do it, i.e. they're usually cake to the back teeth in cash, but they then go and take on another venture. They do it because they're seeking that fulfillment. And that fulfillment is something that we can all aim at, and that will all set our standards much higher. And if we do it, we will get better results, we'll be happier, and we will be better role models to the people out there. And isn't that a great thing to aim at? You can follow us all on the social media channels. You can check us out. We're going to be putting clips up on our socials. It'd be great for if you followed along. I would also, if you send me a direct message or a comment, I'm going to send you one of the videos that is for our premium property mastery community. So I'll send you a video where I show you some of the tools that I use for forecasting and give you some analysis on some of the property news that was out there. If you comment below on wherever it is that you're watching this, so whether you're seeing it on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, wherever it may be, comment below, say, send me the link and I'll fire you the link across. And I would like you to check that out so that you can get a sneak peek inside. You can see what it's like behind the curtain, because what I want to do is show you how I see what's coming up next and give that to you so that you can get a little bit of an insight into how I spot these things and why I've got such a good track record of working them out. And I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you guys in the next episode. And from me this week, that's a wrap.